Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is Leah Richheimer. We are in a very exciting part of this course, which is recognizing rejection. Okay, we're going to start. Now, for those of you who are new to the program, I read about, a couple of pages of marriage secrets, and we go through the Masorah together. Okay, and after this, then we take questions. Okay. So how do we receive our husband's blessing? This is page 104. Oh no, Alana, what chapter are we? I forget. Hello. Oh, chapter 5. Okay, fine. Okay, there we go. Okay. So how do we receive our husband's blessing with as much enthusiasm as possible? The very step is to recognize each and every time we reject our husband. This is not fun. Okay, that's not in the book, but I'm just telling you. Okay, by noticing when we refuse his blessings, we will gain the power to act differently. It's important to bolster ourselves before we start because most of my students are quite shocked at how many times per day they inadvertently rebuff their husband's gifts. Don't be too hard on yourself. You were likely never taught this before. Just remember, we're all in this boat together and we can all get ourselves to shore with very steady and deliberate actions that I will show you. But now that your eyes are open, you have in your hands the power to repair everything. And you're in for an awesome surprise. Once you get the flow of bracha started, there is no limit to the brachas you can bring down from Shemayim. But let's start by seeing if we can recognize rejection in the first place. See if you can find the 3 mistakes that Miri makes with her husband in this scene. This is a puzzle, okay, guys? You guys are figuring this out as I'm talking, okay? Okay. This is like a story. Here we go. And you're figuring out the 3 mistakes she made. Miri complains to her daughter, Bella, that as they chat on the phone, so they're chatting on the phone with their daughter. And Miri says, so the sales lady said that she wouldn't let me exchange the tablecloth you bought me because it's been over 30 days. So I said, it's marked the wrong side. That's not fair. Oh, wait a minute. Tati is trying to tell me something. What, Yoni? She calls out to her husband in the other room. Yoni answers proudly, I just want you to know. Oh, I should do a man's voice. I just want you to know that I finally paid the phone bill. And she says, well, don't forget to pay the gas bill too, Mary reminds him. She continues with Bella. So she made an exception for me and I swapped the tablecloth for a new fabric you're going to love. Oh, wait, Tati's coming in here. Mary stares at her husband. What's that light bulb for? And he says, it's the dead bulb, Yoni responds confidently. I just changed the light bulb in the kitchen. That's the man. You can't tell. Okay. Well, it's about time, Yoni. I'm on the phone with Bella. So then the husband says, tell her your sweater looks great, he says enthusiastically. Don't be silly. This is not the sweater she bought me. It's an old schmata fit to throw away. Let me get back to my phone call. Did you get them all? Did you guys recognize the questions, the 3 things she did wrong? Basically, Yoni keeps trying to give gifts to Miri, and Miri keeps rejecting him. Here, it says Miri keeps rejecting him. That's actually truer than she's rejecting his gifts. She's rejecting him. That's a take-home message. I'm sure my editor from Art Scroll circled that and said, him! It's not the problem. It's she's rejecting him. And imagine how he feels. Here's the new and improved version. I just want to let you know that when the husband says, I just want to let you know that I finally paid the phone bill. Yoni says proudly, and Mary responds, oh, that's fantastic, dear. Thank you so much. Not did you change the other bulb. Yoni says, I just changed the light bulb in the kitchen. And Mary responds gratefully, wow, how did you remember to do that? It's been so busy around here lately. Do you hear how genuine these thank yous are? And then the husband says, tell Bella your sweater looks great. Now, remember, she's wearing an old junky sweater. Yoni says enthusiastically. Mary laughs to her daughter. The best husband in the world wants you to know that my sweater looks great. Yoni smiles broadly. And if you think this is a joke, I have students that actually tried this exact thing with these exact words. You think the husband would think, what are you trying to pull over my eyes, being so weird and thanking me and they don't. They love it. That's it, ladies. That's all you have to do. Receive like a mensch. And Hashem will heap brachas on your husband, and your husband in turn will give them to you. Now let's turn to the very exciting topic of how to get the flow of bracha going. Okay, so guys, are you guys getting your questions ready? Okay, I'm going to read one more section, and it's called The Magic of Thanks. Okay, it's a page and a half. Okay, The Magic of Thanks. This is probably the easiest lesson in the whole book. The way your husband knows that you have received his blessing is that you say, thank you. That's it. To be a good receiver, all you need to do is say thank you. The more you say thank you, the larger capacity vessel for God's blessing you become. That's all you have to do to get the blessing flowing. It's gorgeous, right? We clearly see the power of gratitude from our sages. Rav Bachya asserts that man's worship of God, his obedience of the Torah's rules, is predicated on hakoras hatov, having gratitude. And Rav Chaim Shmulevitz writes regarding the need to recognize and repay a kindness that this attribute of a person, recognizing his obligation, is deeply rooted in his nature. Intrinsically, we feel the deep need to show gratitude. It just seems to get derailed somehow along the way. We also begin our day with two words, Moda Ani, I am grateful, showing that our very first daily obligation is to the one who gives us life anew each and every day. You guys seeing how important this is? This is you guys, this is going to be the easiest homework you ever did because it's easy to do and the results are immediate. So it's very satisfying. Okay, thanking your husband is the most powerful action you can take to show your husband that you appreciate him, you are grateful to him, and you are receiving from him. Starting today, whenever your husband gives you a compliment, a kind word, a gift, or does something for you, reply with the most warm and genuine thank you that you can possibly muster. Okay, verbalizing your gratitude trains your brain and your heart so that you will become a better receiver and be even more thankful in the future. This is page 107. The practical way to do this is to start by noticing every single time your husband does something for you or says something nice to you. Teach yourself to notice more and more, the big things as well as the little things. Notice that he came back from shul when he said he would. Notice that he remembered not to slam the back door. Good luck with that one. Notice that he put the orange juice back in the fridge. When he wants to help you, allow him to. That is receiving. Also recognize if he pays the phone bill every month, or if he cleans the closet, or if he sits with your relatives listening to their ailments. Everything that he does should be noticed and appreciated. Is this crazy? You're like, Leah, are you nuts? But here's the thing. The more you do this, the more bracha will flow into your home. This is how to get the bracha from Shemayim flowing. Okay, noticing things will affect you deeply. Whereas in the past, you may have brushed off everything he did and felt neglected. The more you notice, the more loved you will feel. I'm going to say that again. The more you notice that he does for you, the more loved you will feel. Work at feeling gratitude deeply. Think about how lucky you are just to have a husband. The more things you can notice and appreciate about your husband, the happier you will be. Try your best to thank your husband about 10 times more often than you presently do. Yes, I'm serious. That was in the book. I'm not just saying because also I printed that. It's in black and white here. This is part of our avoda as a wife, and it's what brings blessing into the home. There is no upper limit to thanking your husband. Truthfully, it took me a long while to feel comfortable with not being the source of blessing, which felt like a giant come down for a powerhouse woman. I thought I was the source of blessing. Okay, we already went over the Gemara that it's all from the husband. But now, for some reason, this clarity about being a receiver provides a strong sensation of peace somehow. I don't feel like the weight and pressure of making things successful rests on my shoulders. All I have to do is be the vessel for blessing. Say thank you as much as I possibly can and leave everything to Hashem and my husband. Okay, ladies, now we're open for questions. Where are we holding?
Okay, so Nava's asking, my husband recently mentioned to me he feels there's a block in the bracha he's bringing in, and he thinks he needs to take something on spiritually. Could it be that I'm the issue? I've really been trying to work on receiving and accepting my husband's bracha and gifts. So
Nava, can you explain your question, because we didn't really fully understand it? I think I'm going to answer what I think she thought what she meant is that her husband thinks that, excuse me, he's giving to her, he's not giving enough. And so he wants to go learn more to give more to her or whatever. it almost doesn't even matter what he thinks. If she's thanking him and showing appreciation, whatever, more bracha will come in. So if that makes him motivated to go learn more or to bring more spirituality into the home, then I don't see there's any downside to that. Unless he's going to feel badly, in which case she can tell him, no, you're wonderful, you're giving me plenty, you're like that. And I guess I'm not sure if Nava re-asked the question, then you can re-ask it to me. We did the best we could. Okay, Faggy, go ahead. What's the next question?
So Rachel is asking, my husband has been out of a job for months. Everything has been on my shoulders, kids, part-time work, and the home. I tried supporting him the best I could, but now I'm just silent. If I have nothing nice to say, then I'd rather say nothing at all. What should I do? He's just not helping out.
So here's a lesson. Unemployment is one of the single most challenging things for a family, but particularly for a man. It somehow, whatever men are doing beings, women are very happy if their relationships are going well, they want the parnasa and they want the stability in their life or whatever, but they're, men, when their parnasa is not working out, or they're trying to get a job and they're just rejected repeatedly, or they got fired from their last job, or they were laid off, but there was just bad feelings. And then they see the person in shul that they knew, or, it's such a mess and it's a disaster. Now, I want you to put yourself in his shoes of how debilitating it is to your self-esteem. Your husband had been bringing the parnasa, and now he is not bringing the income in the family. And now you are asking him to do the dishes. So think how you would feel if you were, the king of your world. Let's say you were royalty and you lived in the royal house, and you had 20 people doing the dishes for the dinner parties of 100 that you had, and now all of a sudden you lost all your money. This happened to many of the German Jews and some in our extended family. They lost everything. They no longer had a help, and now they were cleaning the bathrooms and doing all the dishes and doing everything. You feel badly. So here, the man used to have a certain stature in the home, and he didn't have to do the dishes. I mean, this is if she's a full-time stay-at-home mom and he's a full-time worker, then she is responsible for everything in the home. And if he helps out, it's a favor to her. If they both are working full-time, and then the partnership, the divvying up of the household duties is different. But let's just say she's a full-time stay-at-home mom. She's got one kid and they have a housekeeper. Okay. That comes in every day for 4 hours or 6 hours, whatever it is, or comes in twice a week or something like that. So he should not be doing very much, and everything he does is a favor. So now he's out of work, and now it's so degrading to lose his job, but he's now further degraded by having to do menial tasks around the house, and having his wife think lowly of him because he doesn't have a job, and think lowly of him because he doesn't do enough around the house. It's a too big ask that you are asking of him. It's kind of like you're no good, and it's kind of like he feels low. This is the number one way to make him feel lower about himself, and to make him take longer to get a job, because a confident man will get a job faster. The way to eat away and chip away at his self-esteem is to give him as many menial tasks as you possibly can. What's the opposite of that? What would be the thing that God would want from you? He'd want you to step up for the program. You're in a crisis situation. Your husband, his identity is at stake here. So what would God want you to do? And we need to ask ourselves that very, very often. What would God want from me right now? And that would be to step up to the plate in a crisis, to do all of the physical labor. Yes, you'll be more exhausted, but to do as much of the physical labor as you possibly can, to not ask him to do anything in the house if you possibly can. Again, this is provided you're a full-time stay-at-home mom. And to every extra ounce of energy, or maybe the first energies that you have, should be expended in bolstering your husband. He's at a low point. If he had a broken leg and was lying on the couch, you wouldn't tell him to do the dishes. He's got something worse, far worse than a broken leg. He's got a broken self, when he doesn't have his job. So he needs you to step up to the plate. If somebody had a broken leg, you would muster all your resources. You get extra, you tell your sister, listen, can your teenager kids come over or watch my kids in the afternoon so I can cook and I can get, whatever. You would muster all the resources you possibly could so that your husband could rest and heal with his broken leg. It's the same thing when he's unemployed. So take this very seriously upon yourself. And you say, Leah, are you serious? He's out of work. I don't have money and I've got all these problems and emotionally and I'm scared and I don't have security and I don't have safety. And you're telling me I need to break out of that scared thing and be the better person? I'm saying, try. That's for some reason, God gave you this huge challenge. There are many Meforshim that say that, we are challenged with things to bring out the best in ourselves that we didn't know we had. So that's your challenge. God gave you that challenge, not your husband. And your job is to step up to the plate in a crisis. Okay, excellent question. Okay, thank you. Good. What's the next question?
Okay, so Nava clarified, can a lack of bracha in the home be attributed to other reasons other than the wife is not accepting and receiving enough from her husband?
Sure. Yeah, that's good. Excellent. Thank you, Nava. That was great. Sure, it could be attributed to lots of things. Is there something she can do about those other little vague things that she doesn't know what's causing the lack of bracha in the home? Where is she even going to start? Maybe there's a gezerah, or something she did. So she was told lashon hara about somebody and caused an enormous amount of damage over there, and God's punishing her or correcting her. There's no punishment, whatever. I'm not going to get to those, are above my pay scale. But who knows? But she has no power to repair things with that. However, on this, where she does have power, she can exercise that power to bring more bracha in and be appreciative and grateful and thank him and bring more bracha in. And it is guaranteed by Hashem that if she focuses on, makes priority, Shalom Bayis is her top priority, and mevaters, she will always win. And that's from Revitz and Kolodetsky, who said directly to me in the name of her, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, her father, and in the name of the Chavetz Chaim, that if a woman mevaters, she will never lose. So that's taking that to heart. Now she's the rubber meets the road. She's going to have to really bolster herself to have koyach within herself to thank him, even though when she's not feeling it and when she's frustrated and when she feels like the reason there's no bracha in the house in the home is because of him, because they had a nice nest egg and he saw this great investment and he invested $20,000 in this thing and they lost it all, and now she feels like the bracha's gone and it's his fault. Okay, I hear, but this is Hashem's will. And maybe maybe that was a mistake of his or whatever, but her bearing a grudge for the next 20 years, is that going to bring Shalom down? Is that going to bring more Shekhinah in? No, maybe it's precisely him losing the $20,000 and her saying, it's Hashem's will. I'm not happy about it, but I'm getting over it each and every day. I'm getting over it. And I love my husband no matter what. And I cherish him and I want to take care of him and I want to receive from him. And maybe that's the test Hashem is giving her. And when she does that, maybe the $20,000 he invested in the stupid thing will come back at 100,000. Who knows? Okay, very good. Let's go to the next question. Great question. Thank you, Nava.
Okay, Chava is asking, when I thank my husband, he brushes me off without acknowledging my thanks. It's like I'm thanking the air. Am I doing something wrong?
Excellent question. Okay, thanking the air. So first of all, I would tell her to keep trying it for a month or 2 months or 3 months. It would take koyach of her to do that with no results, without him, acknowledging it. But there's two things that you have to keep in mind. Number one, Hashem hears it, and Hashem will give your husband more bracha, even if your husband is completely oblivious to it. And secondly, over time, it could be that in his childhood or in the first part of the marriage, before a woman learned this, when she thanked him she said it in a sarcastic way, like, thank you very much for helping with the dishes. I bought the food, I cooked it, I did this, thank you. Who knows why he's not letting it in. But I would spend a month or 2 or 3, as long as she, can really push through, as long as she can to thank him, and see if then he starts to acknowledge it a little bit. At that point, when she's kind of fed up with him not acknowledging it, or when she's pushed herself past the limit of what she can do to thank him without any reaction, then she should meet with him. Again, when he's well rested, well fed, and she's well rested, well fed, and when they have just a moment together. Which every marriage should be carving out these very, very crucial times together, as hard as it can sometimes be. So what she needs to do is she needs to sit down with him and say, listen, I understand that it's hard for you to feel when I appreciate you and when I thank you. But I just wanted to find out with you, what am I doing it wrong? Like, does it come down, does it feel condescending to you? Does it feel like I'm trying to get something out of you? I'm not sure quite what the dynamic is here, but I really want you to know I'm so grateful to have you in my life. I'm so grateful I married you. You're so precious to me, and I'm trying to show it more and more, because I feel like that's my job as a wife. And I feel like in the first part of our marriage, maybe I didn't show it as much as I wished I had. And I'm sure maybe I'm trying to make up for it or whatever. But can you please tell me what I can do so that, so it really goes into your heart? Because sometimes, I'll say thank you, and you'll go, uh-huh. And I feel like it didn't even affect you, and I want it to. I want you to feel my appreciation. So, and again, you're giving him the problem. So you're handing it to him. And for those of you listening on the podcast, I'm stretching out my cupped hands like I'm handing a cup to, or a bowl to my husband, and say, I'm giving the problem to him, saying, how can we solve this? And let him hear what he has to say. And he might say something like, oh no, it's fine. And then say, well, I really feel like you don't hear it. Is there some, background history in your childhood or in your life, or from our first part of our marriage or whatever, that makes you feel like you're not deserving of my appreciation, or that I did it sarcastically, and I would keep pushing it, the limits of it, until he really understands. And if he isn't emotionally in touch with his own emotions about it, his own feelings about it, you can say, listen, when I say thank you, I really appreciate that. All I need to hear from you to know that you got it is to say, okay, oh, thanks, or thanks for mentioning it, or I appreciate your saying so, or something like that. Would that be possible for you to do? And walk him through it that way. And God willing, it'll go more and more into his heart. Excellent question. Thank you. Okay, Peggy, next question.
Okay, so this also has to do with gifts. I wonder if you would have a different answer. Sarah is asking, my husband only brings me gifts when he does something wrong. I don't want him to think he can buy my love. So, like, any advice will help.
Okay, great. So here's the thing. Let him buy your love. It's fine. Well, I don't see what the problem with it is. Letting him buy your love means that you have a forgiving heart, and that's his way of apology. I wouldn't mind it. I actually have something, it's like, oh, okay. Especially if you, well, we're going to get to the section where we talk about gifts, but if you've chosen the gifts and it's going to be something you like, we'll get to that. We'll get there, guys. But you're, I think, he doesn't know any other language. I think what you might be wanting from him is something out of some kind of a novel, like a romance novel, whatever, like, oh, I'm so sorry I did that wrong thing and I'll never do it again. And, this whole beautiful prose that he should say to you, which men don't know how to do. They don't have the emotions to drive them to do that. And they also don't, even if they did want to do that, they don't know how. So this is his move to be closer to you and to get back to harmony with you, and let him buy your love, because that's his way of apology. And I don't know why God created him that way. Maybe you could work very, very hard at trying to teach him how to say the right thing and how to apologize and how to come back to you. And, there is place for that if that's, if that has to be that way. But my guess is that would be a whole lot of work. It wouldn't come naturally to him. He'd never do it right anyway. Okay. So you might as well this is his way of saying apology, and enjoy the gift. That's my advice to you. Okay. Faggy, fantastic. Good questions.
Tally's asking, I know you always say that respect is always given and not earned, but it's so much easier said than done. I know if I respected my husband more, it would be a lot easier to receive from him and be appreciative of him. How can I practically work on respecting him when truthfully there's so much about him I don't respect?
Very good question, and very sad question. Because a man will only be as respectable as his wife thinks of him. So if she thinks he's he's so bad at this, and he doesn't drive well, and he's bad in Parnassa, and I see the way he talks to the kids, and and whatever, and what she just gathers all the data of why he is not who she deserves or who she expects him to be, right? She can gather that data all day long, making herself miserable and him miserable. Where on the other hand, if she's gathering data of, I wouldn't have said it that way to my son, the way he talks to him, but isn't that funny? My son did clean up his room when my husband handled it that way, So trying to be a prosecuting attorney is the easy route. It's very easy to come in and criticize how a person is, and you're seeing them in the most intimate, close-up range. So it's very easy to poke holes in who he is. On the other hand, if you make it your business to find the good in your husband, we have an obligation to have an eye in tow, a good eye. And if you're having a hard time doing this, you, Tali, need to get yourself a notebook, make it turquoise or pink. Those are my colors. Blue, whatever your favorite color is, tan, whatever, and make a notebook of things that you like about your husband, things you respect about your husband, things that you would like to show more appreciation for about your husband. If you start gathering that, instead of being a prosecuting attorney, be an advocate for who he is, and start picking out things, you're going to blow your mind how many good things your husband has that you totally dismiss in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. And the more you focus on what you do appreciate about, well, it's only two things. Well, that's because you have what's the opposite of an ein har? You have a bad eye. Start working on it. Work on seeing the good in him. And slowly but surely, it's a lot of people find a lot of, by writing it down, either, you can get you can put in your phone or whatever, but somehow there's a journaling with your handwriting or typing it in or whatever is very, it makes it physical. It puts it into the physical world and makes it more real for many people. So it's definitely worth a try. But the focus that you're working on is to be seeing the good in your husband. And when you do that again and repeatedly over time, that respect will grow. And this isn't a lovely side thing to do. You're mechuyev. You are obligated to do that. That is, you were born to see the good in your husband and to work very, very hard at doing that. It's not just a nice thing. So rather than looking at how respectable he is, look at him with good eyes and start making note of it. And you'll see a huge shift in your own appreciation and respect for your husband. And you will watch with your own eyes your husband grow into a bigger person. And by that, I mean more menschy, more caring of you, more better at everything he does. When a husband feels his wife's confidence in him and his wife's respect in him, he grows in stature, and which will make it easier for you to respect him more. But it starts with you shifting your mindset and into one of an eye and toe. Okay, we have to go. We're done with the class, but I just want you guys to know that we are accomplishing such important issues here. There's great questions. Keep sending them in, guys. But the homework for this session is to start to see your husband as an ayin tov, and at least one time a day, maybe jot down a note oh, my husband, he didn't, instead of saying he didn't take out the trash, he just takes the bag out and puts it there, and it sits there and smells in the middle of the kitchen. Instead of seeing that, see, oh, he remembered the trash and he bagged it for me. And now all that needs to be done is another bag. So see the cup half full. You start doing that and you will feel much more satisfied in your marriage, and you will witness your husband growing. Okay, it's Leah Richheimer. We'll see you next time.